be careful if you ever have to fold your fabric on the crosswise grain. If you have a print that is directional, that will go for nap fabric too. Pile, any kind of fabric like that. Just beware of that. Yes? Okay? So I'm going to use this piece of fabric. It's a small piece, but you get the picture. Okay. This is the fabric here. You know, these are the Eiffel Towers. They're oriented in the right direction since it is directional. So this is the fabric folded along the lengthwise. This is how you buy it at the fabric store. It's rolled on the bolt this way. And you will notice that the fabric is the same. The orientation of the print is the same on both sides, and it's in the right direction. But when I folded the fabric this way, it was not wide enough for the front piece of this robe. And so what I did was folded it this way. Well, automatically you can see that the Eiffel Towers are facing downward, right? But on this side, they're not. So I'm guessing this is the side that I saw when I cut the fabric. You know, and the minute I saw it, my heart sank. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like, I would love to say that I knew it and just forgot, but I don't know that I did, right? But had I been focused, this is what I'm really working on, is focused in sewing. Had I been focused, I would have noticed that, you know, that the print was going the wrong direction on one side. Now, to be honest with you, I don't know that that would have changed anything for me. You know, at least I would have been able to say I knew it, but I chose not to do it. Yeah, but I can't even say that. The reason I say that I don't think I would have done that is because I would have had to cut all the pieces on a single layer of fabric. That I didn't want to do for this project, right? I did, however, redeem myself when it came to the sleeves. I said, okay, the sleeves, you know, I can cut that on a single layer. So, I did that. But be careful if you ever have to fold your fabric on the crosswise grain. If you have a print that is directional, that will go for nap fabric too. Pile, any kind of fabric like that. Just beware of that. Yes? Okay? My family and I went to Kalahari Resorts in Sandusky, Ohio for spring break last week. And it was really nice. You know, we had a good time. There's an indoor water park, an outdoor water park. There's restaurants, you know, all kinds of things to do. Some good food, some okay food. But, you know, more importantly than anything, we were able to spend time together, right? We only stayed like 3 nights, I think. But the first day we got there, I noticed the spa and the fitness center. And they were situated in such a way that you could pass by them every day. So the hotel was here, everything to do was over here, and then the spa and the fitness center were right in the center on the 2nd floor. And I'm like, you know, I'm gonna have to see if I can make my way, you know, into the spa and the fitness center. Well, I did not get to the fitness center, but I made it to the spa. So on our way to the water park for the first time, I said, you know what, let me just run in here real quick, see what's going on. You know, when you walk in, there's a receptionist there and there's, you know, you can shop. The robe was actually the first thing I saw. Picked up the robe. It was packaged, you know, had the little Kalahari emblem on it. And I thought, this is really cute. And it just so happened that I needed a robe. And I'm like, this is cute. Never checked the price or anything. So I looked around a little bit and I said, I'm going to do it. So I went to the receptionist, made an appointment to come back the next day. When I tell you, first of all, let me start by saying, if it's been a minute since you had a massage, do yourself a favor and go get one. Okay. You won't regret it. You know, sometimes we get so caught up in, you know, doing things and living life and doing this, but really take the time out to just do a little something for yourself, and you can start with a massage. Okay. You know, I got there, the receptionist checked me in and everything. And so she took me to the locker room and gave me this robe. It was the same robe that I saw in the shop. And I'm like, oh, this is the same robe, you know, that I saw. When I put that thing on, it was so comfortable. I mean, it was just like, you know, like you're immediately impressed. And who knows, my mind could have just been ready for some relaxation, which is fine too. But it was just so comfortable. So it was, you know, it was like a utilitarian kind of fabric, for lack of a better word, but it had some softness to it. So I'm guessing it had some rayon in it, but even the color was like, you know, grays, like this taupe, utilitarian looking gray or taupe. It's the only word that comes to mind, but it was very soft. Even the outside was soft. So you could tell that it was a fabric that was a little sturdy, but it was softened up some. And then Sherpa was the inside. That's what it looked like to me. And, you know, I'm sure these robes had been washed 1,000 times, but it looked like some form of Sherpa. So I go to the relaxation room. In the relaxation room, you know, lights are dim, there's a couch, there's refreshments, you know, music is playing, everybody's quiet. You know, I kind of had my head tossed back. Some people were on their phones, but this is where you go before and after your service. So I'm sitting there and I'm getting really relaxed. So then I go back and I have my massage, and y'all, it was perfect. The whole time I'm having a massage, the robe that she gave me is in like a can. Like, it looks like a trash can, but it's a heated can. So the robe is heating up the whole time I'm getting the massage. And I love warmth. I love heat. I love, you know, anything that's hot. I put that robe on and I'm just like, oh my goodness, you know, because you can't lay there too long. You know, she'll say, come out when you're ready. But, you know, they got people coming in. So I was there a second, but I got up and put that robe on and I went back to the relaxation room. Had a little snack. They had some trail mix in there. And it was such a great experience, y'all. It left a lasting impression on me. And I knew that it was something that was achievable and something that I could do. I'm like, I can make one of these robes. Like, I meant to go back to see what the price of the robe was, but I didn't do that. And then when I looked online, they have the robe shown as part of the marketing, you know, the pictures of the spa, but they don't have that actual robe for sale. You can only buy like a terry cloth robe. And so I have no idea how much it costs, but I came back. So we got home on a Wednesday. Thursday, I cut this fabric out and started stitching it up. By Saturday morning, I was putting, you know, the final hem in. I had put like a temporary hem in because I wanted to wear it, right? So I was like, let me just put a little temporary hem in to see if by putting this hem in this soon and letting it hang, if the hem drops. And it did, because hang on a second. So this Sherpa is lightweight, right? But it's stretchy, yeah. Right, you can see how it rolls a little bit on the side. This is the outside, of course, and this is the inside. I wanted this side to be the closest to my body. I felt them and I'm like, you know, they feel about the same to me. Actually, this feels a little bit softer. So, you know, there's not a lot of stretch crosswise, but lengthwise, there is some stretch. So that alone tells you that, you know, the hem is probably going to drop. So I was like, well, let me just try it. And sure enough, it dropped. So I put the final hem in on Saturday morning and been wearing this robe ever since. It's the perfect pattern to experiment with. Let me get it. It's Mccall'S 659, and there's only 5 pieces, right? So there's no collar, so to speak of. There's just like a band that goes all the way around from one lower edge all the way around the back of the neck to the other. I don't really like the design of the pattern, right? The silhouette. I don't really like this flare at the bottom. That's why the pattern piece didn't fit on my fabric, is because this bottom is so flare. And I guess that is a style, but I don't prefer that style. I prefer a more streamlined robe. And, you know, at least I have one of these in my wardrobe now. And perhaps if I made this out of, you know, something silky, something lightweight, something satiny, you know what I mean? I think that might be cute. But for this, being as thick as it is and as heavy as it is, I would like for this to be more streamlined. And that's how the inspiration robe was. It was kind of, more streamlined. This is a 2013 pattern, which I didn't realize this. No, 2012. It's a 2012 pattern. Didn't know this pattern had been out this long. It reminds me of a swing coat. I just think that there's too much going on, and I could be overreacting. Let me know what you think. You think this looks like a swing coat? Yeah, so it's not my favorite style. It's not my favorite design for a robe, not in this particular fabric. You know, perhaps in a different, like a silky, maybe fabric, charmeuse or something like that. Kind of like what the model is wearing. It probably, maybe I would like it more. Because of the comfort, everything else is okay. You know what I mean? I can suffer through the mismatched print. I can suffer through it looking like a swing coat. I can suffer through whatever I have to suffer through, because the comfort is there. And it's what I was going for, right? So it makes it all worthwhile. Let's see. So I did make my own piping. I wanted piping on here, and I don't know that it was the best idea. In some places it kind of looks like it, you know, stretched a little bit. I guess I was thinking about piping more like with a collar, but this is a band that goes all the way down. But Virginia, I had gotten some fabric that I inherited from Virginia. It's like gold on one side and, you know, solid black on the other, but it had this little black border on both sides. And I'm like, let me just cut that off and wrap it around some cording and, you know, make my own piping. So I made the piping. I did add carriers to it. There are no carriers with the pattern. I don't think. Let me be sure. Did I miss it? I don't want to tell y'all the wrong thing. No, there's not. There's no, I didn't think there was, but I wanted to be sure. There's no carriers with the pattern. This was originally the first tie belt, but you know, with this type of fabric combinations, you know, the cotton and the Sherpa, it makes it a little thicker, but I needed like a heavy belt. Like, you know what I mean? I need a belt. You know what I'm saying? And this was a little flimsy. So I was like, you know what? I'll just use this for a head tie. Another thing I wish I had was pockets. So I'm always like trying to put my hands in my pockets, right? In the pockets that don't exist. But again, this pattern is easy enough. You can add all that stuff. I still could put pockets on it if I wanted to, because my lining is separate. So the hem of the lining and the hem of the actual robe is separate, so I could go up underneath there and maneuver some kind of way. That's how I actually ended up putting on the carriers, because you know, I was like, oh, it doesn't have carriers, and I was trying it on, and I was like, I gotta have carriers on this. I could easily add pockets if I wanted to, and I might do that. This robe is gonna, I'm not concerned about making another robe like this right away. You know what I mean? Like back to back. This will be fine for a while, so I'm satisfied with it. I have actually got these pajamas cut out, so when I tell you that I have been wearing my two vintage 40s PJs like nobody's business, like believe me when I say that I have. And the autumnal ones, they really wash up well, like they're very nice. The BHM ones, I called it, you know, it's a cotton, so the fabric like wrinkles up quite a bit. You know, I looked around and I said, am I supposed to be ironing my PJs? I don't think that's what I signed up for. And I did take them with me on spring break, which they're very comfortable and they're presentable, so you can, you know, be in front of people in your PJs and you're good to go. But I think that the trim is home decor, right? Because every time I wash, let me go get them for you. Y'all want to see them? I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. I can show you better than I can tell you. So this is right out of the dryer. See how this is like wrinkled? Right, it's wrinkled up. And I know I got some, see the string here? See how that just comes right off of there? You see that? So I've been cutting string and cutting string and cutting string. And so I am almost convinced now that this trim, you know, the back seems to look pretty good, but this trim is home decor, I'm guessing, because I can't imagine, unless it's the way I have it sewn. I don't know, maybe this is my fault, because it looks like this is fine. Like I don't have any trouble. It's these pockets. You know what? I bet you it's the way I finish the top of the pockets. Never mind. This is probably, no, but this is coming off down in here. See? Can you tell? I don't know. I'm confused. I still wear them though. But I'm like, I don't think I'll be ironing no pajamas. So the pink fabric came from Joann Fabrics. And the Eiffel Tower fabric came from Walmart. And the Eiffel Tower fabric is like a cotton. They go together okay. You know what I mean? So it's not too thick. Initially, I kept the sleeve and the Sherpa fabric together. And then I turned both of them up and hemmed them. But that was 2 layers of Sherpa right here. And it was too thick. It almost looked like a blanket. I'm like, what is going on with the end of these sleeves with the sleeve hem? But it was just too thick. So I had to cut 1 layer of it off. I hope that makes sense. And so now the Sherpa just comes to about here, a little past this seam here. Oops. So the Sherpa just comes a little bit past here, right? And I stitched it that way. So instead of the Sherpa coming all the way down and then over, I did it that way. Well, I think that's it. That's all I wanted to share with you. So I am glad you were able to stop by here today. I hope that all is well with you. Now I'm going to end by saying this. You know, if you ever were wondering or if you ever thought about, I want to get back into sewing, you've sewn before and you stopped for some reason. If you've thought, you know, dang, I want to learn how to sew. Whatever your situation is, if you have any desire to sew at all, you used to, you know somebody who does, your auntie did, your grandma did, just do it. You'll be glad you did. So I'm encouraging you, if you want to sew, start sewing. There's a lot of reasons to begin sewing, but one of them is you can make what you want. If you're able to make it with your own 2 hands, it's worth a try. Don't you think? Thanks for tuning in today. Until next time, be well.